This story is not for the faint of heart. It contains intense depictions of drug use, psychedelic horror, and elements that might keep you up at night. The dangerous effects of LSD, faceless creatures, and a light that steals the very soul of a person. These are all part of this tale. If psychological horror or explicit content unsettles you, think twice before diving in. This story is a roller coaster that will drag you into a strange, otherworldly realm, with no guarantee you'll come back unscathed. Let's begin. In the summer of '67, things happened that had never happened before. If you were there, you know. If you weren't, it might be hard to imagine some of the weird shit that can happen in a rarefied atmosphere of sex, drugs, and rock and roll such as the world has never seen. Me, I was there. I drove cross-country with my buddy Weasel that summer, all the way from Baltimore, Maryland, in a turquoise VW microbus. After a long and arduous journey, we arrived at our destination, the teeming neighborhood of Haight-Ashbury. We went immediately to the address of our friend, Fuzzy Bill. Bill was a house painter who had offered us a summer's work helping repaint the infamous Avalon Ballroom. We'd worked for Bill before, slopping paint on suburban split levels around Baltimore, but this was different. The Avalon was the Taj Mahal of hippiedom. It's gonna be like painting the Sistine Chapel. Weasel said, "Only better, 'cause there's chicks." Fuzzy Bill had become our personal saint. We figured it was the kind of thing that could put a guy in the house painting Hall of Fame. We brought along all our best brushes. Bill lived with strange Rollo in a row house on 8th Street. The Chickinator will bring the hull bump. From what I'd managed to glean from a few stoned-out late-night phone calls, the place was a chick farm, in the classic sense of the word. Hungry, rude. There's people crashing everywhere, man. Chicks like you wouldn't believe. Bill gushed through the phone lines. To two horny 19-year-olds, it seemed like heaven. California was definitely the promised land. Weasel's older brother Chucky said we were both crazy, and all we'd find on the West Coast was a case of the clap. We didn't care. I could count my sexual experiences on one hand, and Wheeze on 2 fingers. Any advancement in that department was okay by us, even if it carried the promise of a visit to the He Clinic. Anyway, Chucky, only a few years older than us and just back from Vietnam, was already out of the loop. Things were happening fast. Our hair was getting too long for the Baltimore scene. Strange Rollo answered the door barefoot, his eyes bloodshot. We stood there for a few seconds gaping at each other before Rollo said, "Hey, it's the guys from Baltimore. How are you doing, man?" Weasel asked. "I'm doing O and K," he said after sticking his head out the door and looking up and down the block. "Why don't you guys come on in and smoke a joint?" Weasel looked at me and beamed. "Well, Jake, I guess we finally made it to good old Frisco." Rollo winced. Rule number 1, never call it Frisco, kid. It's San Francisco. People hate that. The house had been decorated from junk stores, all funky old stuff. It smelled of pot smoke, incense, and mildew. Rollo took his seat on a faded couch between 2 of the cutest girls I'd seen since leaving Baltimore, both of them with long hair, wearing short cutoffs and semi-transparent Indian shirts. Their nipples shone through the gauze-like material like nature's beacons. Me and Wheeze sat on 2 overstuffed easy chairs opposite them and tried not to stare. Between the chairs was a low table cluttered with dope-smoking paraphernalia, some record albums, a few underground newspapers, and a sleeping cat. Rollo said, "This is Lazy Lisa, and Suze, the cat's name, is Howling Wolf." The girls nodded. I could tell that all 3 of them were stoned. The cat was catatonic. Suze got up to put on a record while Rollo busied himself rolling a joint from a carved wooden stash box. "We just drove all the way out here from Baltimore," Weasel said. "Can you believe that?" "Really?" said Lazy Lisa, her eyes pink and wondrous. "Isn't that on the other side of the country?" Wheeze answered her with a nod and a goofy smile. "Took us 3 weeks. I'm amazed we actually got here. Almost got busted a couple of times, and some townsfolk hassled us while we were camping. That happened a lot. Ran out of money, and the damn bus kept breaking down. But," Weasel raised his arms and looked around the room. "Here we are." Lisa looked bored. She wasn't really listening anymore. Rollo lit the joint, took a hit, and handed it to me. "Where's Fuzzy Bill?" I asked. "I haven't seen him for a couple days. Is he around?" Rollo nodded. sure he's around. You might find him in the park tomorrow. There's a concert, I think. I toped and passed the burning weed to Weasel, who began sucking on it noisily. But he still lives here, right? Rollo closed his eyes. His stuff is here, but Bill lives everywhere, man. The album Electric Music for the Mind and Body by Country Joe and the Fish began to play. Suze closed her eyes and began to sway. This is a great album, man. Rollo said reverence as the sinuous guitar of Barry Melton began to unwind around us. The electric organ sounded otherworldly. Suze sat on the floor and shuffled through some album covers. There were several fruit crates full of records and more scattered around the room. Bill had an excellent collection. Weasel held smoke in his lungs and talked in a constricted voice. Have you seen Freeman? Rollo thought for a moment and said, Freeman? Yeah, man. He works with a band now. They dig around here and there. Freeman's in a band? I asked. Well, he's not really in it. He rolls joints for him. Weasel laughed. Are you kidding me? Nope. All he does, day and night, is roll joints. That's his job. Weasel whistled. Beats painting houses. Rollo continued, the way I heard it. Some dealer put up a ton of money, and all they do is play music and smoke dope. He took the joint. You should go over there sometime. It's cool. After a short, appreciative silence, Weasel said, We need a place to crash. Is it okay if we crash here? Bill said we could. Rollo rolled his head. I guess so. He thought for a moment, then pointed to the hallway. Why don't you stay in Bill's room till he gets back? I don't think he'd mind. We won't touch any of his stuff, promise. Weasel replied. You better not. He's touchy about that. And if you happen to find his secret stash, for God's sake, don't smoke it. Weasel raised his hand in a Boy Scout salute. We would never do that. Honest. We just need some space to crash is all. Is anything going on tonight? Lazy Lisa came out of her daze and smiled seductively. Big Brother's at the Avalon. Wanna go? Sure, I said, blushing slightly. But we need a ride, she said. Does your bus still work? We nodded vigorously. Okay, we'll be back here in a couple hours to get you guys. Lisa stood, stretching her lithe body, and I got my second good look at her. She was slim, tanned, and exotic in a way Baltimore girls never were. I gotta go meet somebody, she said. You coming? She asked Suze. They left suddenly, and their peculiar flowery scent lingered in my nose. Weasel beamed. We've only been here half an hour, and we already got a date with 2 chicks to go to the Avalon, he said. Plus, we got a place to crash and we're smoking killer dope. Not bad for 2 boys from the Big B on their first day, Rollo responded with a grunt. You guys are hopeless. Rule number 2, around here you gotta act cool, not like a couple of bumpkins. Meeting chicks and going to the Avalon happens all the time. Weasel interrupted. What about those 2 chicks, man? What's the scoop? They got boyfriends. Rollo laughed. Dozens of them, you know. Dozens? What do you mean? Well, things are different out here in California, boys. There's this new thing that's happening called free love. Most of the chicks around here are very open about stuff like that. I've heard about that. Weasel whispered reverence, but I never thought I'd live to actually see it. Rollo smirked. There's a revolution going on, man. We're all part of it. Where do they live? Rollo leaned forward and spoke in low, confidential tones. Let me tell you something about those 2. They're really into acid. I mean really into it. They live in this commune over on Filbert Street where a lot of weird shit goes on. What do you mean? I mean, like weird shit, you know? They do a lot of acid there. The main guy is on a real strange trip. He thinks he's God. Rollo paused to suck on the joint. He continued, after exhaling and coughing mightily. He makes this killer stuff called white mist. It's pure lysergic acid diethylite. Puts Owsley's to shame. What I heard is that he's some heavy chemist who flipped out and went underground. He's got this lab down in the basement, and he makes it right there in the house. I whistled low. An unlimited supply. Christ, that sounds kinda scary. Yeah, Rollo replied. And when you do that much acid, it makes you strange. You know what I mean? I nodded. Yeah, I've only done it once. and my face hurt from smiling for 2 days. Riesel shook his head. I've never done it. I've been waiting for the right time and place. Rollo raised an eyebrow. Hey, man, don't get me wrong. Acid's heavy. I've done it a couple of times myself, but his voice trailed off. They all do it together? Riesel asked. Rollo nodded. Yep, all of them. There must be a dozen or so. Getting crazy behind all that high-test LSD every night. Having orgies and shit. The days on the air will be taken from the ring board will be out. Orgies? That whole house is floating half the time. They say they got people levitating over there, leaving their bodies and shit. It's a real intense scene, man. Orgies? People go there and wind up never coming down long enough to leave. Those two chicks, they scare me sometimes. They get real high and start wanting to hump. Are you serious? Rollo nodded. They fuck like rabbits, those two, but they only do it on acid. Have you ever had sex while you were tripping? No, we replied in unison. Rollo leaned forward and dropped his voice again. It's incredible. You feel like you're literally coming your brains out, and the time distortion makes it seem like hours. I can't describe it, but it's like your bodies melt together and you become one being for a while. You know, like the beast with two backs. Rollo leaned back and smiled. His voice modulated upward. I've done it with both of them together. Holy shit, that's unbelievable, Weasel said. Rollo relit the joint, took another hit, and handed it back to me. It's pretty intense, man. The only problem is, while you're fucking them, they start talking about Sebastian, like they're trying to recruit you to come over and join their family. Sebastian's their leader. Right. He's the guy who makes the acid. He's a very freaky person. Got hair down to here and crazy eyes. Likes to wear Indian clothes. Acts like a fucking guru. I see him all the time at the ballrooms. But listen, what I said about him being a famous chemist though, nobody's supposed to know about that, so I don't say anything about it. Okay? Where's the time that comes from two weights? I take them. I nodded, unable to erase the mental image of Lisa and Suze, naked, taking turns riding me while I tripped my ass off. Rollo continued, You'll probably run into him at the Avalon tonight, especially if you're with those two. Rollo raised a finger, but be careful, man. They might dose you. The Avalon pulsed with sound and light. Amoebas danced on the wall behind the stage, and people dressed in colorful clothes bathed in the air-shattering music. Lisa and Suze got lost in the crowd as soon as we were inside, and I saw them a few minutes later dancing in front of the stage, as if in a trance. Hey, there's Freeman, Weasel shouted above the music. I recognized Freeman from across the room, and we made our way over to say hello. Great to see you guys, he gushed. Welcome to San Francisco. We just got here. We're crashing at Fuzzy Bill's. Is he around? Freeman asked. He was supposed to meet me a couple of days ago, and I haven't seen him. He's disappeared, Riesel said. What happened to him? Freeman asked. I was hoping I'd see him tonight. We're thinking of opening up a head shop together, and I wanted him to come down and look at a storefront I found. It's not like Bill to drop out of sight like this. Maybe he went to Mexico, Riesel offered. He was always talking about it. Maybe he just up and split. Nah, he'd tell me. I know he's got a new chick. I think he said her name was Cassandra. Maybe he's with her. I saw her once. She's unbelievable. Maybe we should ask around. A lot of people here know Bill. Music played and Freeman melted back into the crowd. We found Lisa and Suze hanging out in front of the stage while James Gurley of Big Brother fingerpicked his electric guitar. Some freaky-looking people suddenly surrounded us and started hugging Lisa and Suze. These are my friends from the commune, Lisa said. Without bothering with names, they all shook hands or hugged. A tall man with shoulder-length blonde hair and piercing blue eyes stepped forward. He appeared a little older than the rest of them. I'm Sebastian, he said. We're having a party after the gig. You can come if you want. On Sebastian's arm was the prettiest girl I had ever seen in my life. Her face was absolutely perfect. Lips, nose, and chin exquisitely matched. Everything just so. Her sparkling eyes reflected the light show. I was captivated. Sebastian noticed my interest and said, This is Cassandra. I recognized the name and smiled. Hi, I'm Jake. Do you know a friend of mine named Fuzzy Bill? Canada's face, though flawless, showed no emo. No, she said. There was something mysterious about her, and for some reason I didn't believe what she said about Bill. Sebastian gave Lazy Lisa and Suze a Bodhi bag of wine, and they began to squeeze the yellow fluid into their mouths. You guys want some? Lisa asked. I shook my head. I'm strictly a beer man. Weasel said nothing and took the bag. He squirted some wine down his throat and laughed. That tickles. Lisa grabbed his arm and said, let's dance. As the night wore on, Weasel began to act strangely. While he was dancing, he began to make wider, longer, more exaggerated movements until he was leaping across the floor like a maniac. I'd known Weasel for years, and I'd never seen him dance like that. That's when I knew the wine had been dosed. When the music ended, Weasel began laughing hysterically. Weasel was tripping his ass off. How do you feel? I asked. I feel great. Wonderful. Everything is so beautiful. Cassandra, who had been talking to Lisa and Suze, slid next to me and said, your friend is really enjoying himself. My heart accelerated in her presence. Yeah, but I think you guys dosed him. Look, I don't know if that was such a good idea. He's never done acid before. He might have a bummer. Not with us. Sansasa said, nobody ever has a bummer with us. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I realized I was staring at Cassandra. Her beauty was distracting. I mean, he didn't have any choice in the matter. You think that's right? Sure. She smiled. He's having a beautiful experience. Look at him. I watched Weasel dancing with Suze, even though the music had stopped. He smiled expansively. Well, he seems to be having a good time, I admitted. Lazy Lisa produced the leather bladder of acid-laced wine and offered it to me. Why don't you join us? I shifted on my feet, suddenly nervous now. I don't know. I'm not really in the mood tonight. Why don't we just smoke pot? Forget pot. This is special. Come on, drink some electric wine, you'll love it, Sanandra said seductively. She took the bag from Lisa and squeezed a long stream of wine down her slender throat. See, there's nothing to be afraid of. Why don't you have just a little? It's the best thing you've ever felt. Suddenly I was nervous. I shook my head. That's okay, I'll pass. Don't be a party pooper. Cassandra's eyes sparkled, and I gazed into them like a deer stares into a car's headlights. Drink some, and then come with me to the party, she said softly, her full lips wetly forming each syllable. We could spend some time together. Together. I stammered. Just the two of us, Jake, all alone in my magic bedroom. What do you say? I wondered what her game was. Was it some of that free love Rollo mentioned? Or was it something more? The question faded as Cassandra touched my arm, gently sliding her fingers up and down. I sighed and felt my will ebbing away. I really wasn't planning on tripping tonight. Cassandra stepped forward and kissed me. As her tongue played with mine, I feared she would feel the obscene hammering of my heart right through my shirt, and I was getting hard. Trip with me, she whispered. You'll never be the same again. It'll blow your mind. My mind flooded with images of riding Cassandra, our bodies glistening with passion juice, hallucinating that my dick was 10 feet long. What would feel like when I came, and faster would I do the right to do? The choice was clear. Cassandra and incredible acid sex, or go back to Bill's place alone. I looked at Cassandra again, drinking in the possibilities. My eyes wandered down her throat, to her open peasant blouse, to the smooth, full cleavage below. What was I so afraid of? Cassandra was worth it, I reasoned. Okay, but first I gotta go do something, I'll be right back. I located Freeman in a corner talking to some freaks. I see you found Cassandra, he said. Are you sure? She said she didn't know Bill. That's bullshit. He was with her the last time I saw him. Maybe it's a different Cassandra. Freeman shook his head. I wouldn't forget a face like that. That's definitely her. You think she's lying? Freeman shrugged. Who the fuck knows? All I'm saying is, I saw her with Bill. If she's lying about it, I guess she's got her own reasons. Are you going to their party? I hear things get pretty wild over there. I blushed and nodded. I guess the little head is doing the thinking for the big head. I don't blame you, man. She's the best looking chick in the hate. But be careful. Those acid freaks are crazy. I drove Weasel and the three girls to a house on Filbert Street. A large, run-down, semi-Victorian in the middle of a quiet block. Sebastian was already there, sitting cross-legged on the floor at the center of a circle of people. Cassandra, looking more beautiful than ever, led us into the circle. "These are my new friends," she said. "They'd like to join us." Sebastian raised his hands. "Welcome to this house." Cassandra had insisted that I swallow some of the acid-laced wine on the way over, and I was beginning to feel warm and fuzzy. I'd taken as little as I could, making it look like more. Cassandra had been pretty damn insistent about it, and I hated myself for giving in. LSD scared me, and I wasn't really keen on tripping, but the promise of sex with her overwhelmed everything. "Please share what we have," Sebastian said. An electric smile painted across his face. He waved his hand at a low table spread with fruit, pastries, wine, and cheese. There were also some rolled joints. "Thanks, man." We ate, drank, and smoked, and felt the acid coming on. Later, I watched Weasel crawl across the hardwood floor, examining the grain of the boards. Lazy Lisa frantically looked through his scalp. "I saw something," she explained to me when I asked, "What did you see?" "I saw something burrowing around in his scalp. I think it was some kind of centipede." Weasel screamed and jumped to his feet. "A centipede? Where?" "In my brain." "Relax," Cassandra said. "You're tripping. Everything is all right. You're with us." Her delicate face and tone of voice reassured. She had a strange blankness about her, a Mona Lisa quality. She neither smiled nor frowned. Her cool, beatific beauty gave no indication of what was going on inside. I found it hypnotic. I noticed that she changed subtly from moment to moment, like a multifaceted crystal turning on a string. Viewed from different angles, she mirrored different aspects of what went on around her. The first time I saw her, she looked dark auburn hair and olive skin. Now she appeared almost Nordic, her hair noticeably lighter and her skin paler. Cassandra was a little spooky. If she hadn't been such a knockout, I would have bolted, but I stayed and stayed, the acid steeping into my brain. The more I searched her features, the more I saw reflected my own desire. I was tripping pretty good now. Colors and sounds were intense. I thought of the cosmos and watched the heave and fall of Cassandra's perfect breasts. Everything was moving. Weasel, who had ingested even more LSD over the course of the evening, was becoming psychotic. "There's acid in everything here," he said during a short lucid period. "I can taste it, man. It's in the fruit, the juice. It's even on the toilet seat." "How many mics do you think we absorbed?" Weasel drooled. "This shit isn't measured in mics, it's on a whole nother level. I hope this turns out to be a good trip." Weasel laughed, short and nasal. "That's funny," he said. "There are no good trips or bad trips, Jake. There's only the trip. Everything else is inside you." Weasel was not known for his philosophic bent, and hearing him talk like this struck me as odd. "You okay, man?" "Yeah," Weasel said a few moments later. "Never been better, Jakey, old boy. Except this red air is kind of hard to breathe." My face twisted into an involuntary smile. "The air's not red, man. It's clear. But I think there's stuff swirling in it." Weasel bit at the air, then chewed a mouthful and licked his lips. I can taste it. I'm starting to see things differently now. There's a lot of light in here." Cassandra touched us both on the arms. We looked into her liquid eyes and sighed. As long as she was around, everything would be all right. "It's the great white light," she said. I looked around with sudden chemical paranoia. Where did everybody go? It seemed that a moment ago the room was full of music and laughing people. Now it was silent and only the five of us remained. Cassandra, Weasel, Lisa, Suze, and me. The ceiling seemed impossibly high. "They all went away," she said softly, "to different parts of the house. The house is huge. You want to see? I can show you." "Don't leave me," Weasel shouted. "For God's sake, don't leave me here. They'll get me." "Hey, Weez, nobody's gonna get you," I said reassuringly. Cassandra put a cool, dry hand on his cheek and looked into his eyes. Everything's all right. Don't worry. You have the power to do anything you want. You can change the universe if you want. I can. Yes, she whispered. I think you know what I mean, don't you? Yeah. Why don't you take off your clothes? Lisa and Suze began to unbutton Weasel's shirt like a pair of earthy seductresses. They ran their fingers across his chest. You want to fuck us? Lisa purred in Weasel's ear. I watched, wide-eyed, as they removed the rest of his clothes, then their own. Lisa mounted him and began to undulate, pulling herself up and down his chest, kissing his torso with her pussy lips. I saw the glowing, iridescent trail of her juices. She reached down and maneuvered his shaft into her. Weasel moaned. Sue straddled his face and lowered herself onto his questing tongue. I felt myself getting hard. Cassandra gently rubbed the bulge in my jeans. Look at them. They're making the beast with 2 backs. Or maybe I should say, the beast with 3 backs. It's pure natural sex. We should do it too, Jake. Let's go upstairs. Cassandra's room was a pleasure palace. There were Indian print bedspreads hanging on the walls, candles and incense burning, and a huge bed. Lay down, she commanded, and I did. She undressed me, and my nakedness felt wonderful on the smooth sheets. The psychedelic sensations rippled from my skin to my brain and back again, setting up a feedback loop of numbing rapture. When she kissed me, I felt my soul being sucked into her mouth. Our tongues seemed the size of pythons entwining passionately. I'd never been this high in my life. I was melting in and out of reality, hallucinating in unpredictable spurts. Cassandra knelt over me and took my dick in her mouth. The sensations were overwhelming. She slipped off her dress and mounted me. We began to copulate, gently at first, then progressively harder. I pushed deeper into her until I felt the tip of my penis disappear into what seemed like another dimension. It was a very odd sensation. I was confused but too horny to stop. She rode me endlessly, the throes of our passion so intense that for the moment everything else ceased to exist. I could feel myself melting into her as wave after wave of ecstasy swept over me. We are the beast with 2 backs, she whispered into my ear. We are one. Give me your seed. Fuck me, she screamed and grabbed my buttocks. We bucked and writhed for what seemed like hours. The LSD coursed through my system with the wild tidal pounding of my own pulse. I floated through space, the head of my dick a swollen navigator through the void. My entire being seemed perched there, waiting. Cassandra's face dissolved and all I could feel were the wet, hungry lips of her vagina, devouring me. I closed my eyes, and when I opened them again, a strange thing happened. I saw the bed 6 feet below us. Holy shit, I whispered, suddenly afraid. I saw the men sighed while crying behind the dead. We're floating. My voice sounded far away, and I clung to her like a drowning man. Yes, that's right. The beast can float, my love. She cooed. The beast can do anything. Now shut up and fuck. She constricted her vaginal muscles and massaged my aching rod like an oily hand. I lost myself in her again. We pumped vigorously, suspended in the nothingness. I think I'm going to come, I said at last. Then I exploded in her, gushing an impossible stream of jism. I felt the very essence of me drain through the end of my dick and into her. She drank it in. My soul, my intellect, my memories all flowed out in the river of semen. I climaxed in waves, losing a little bit more of myself in every load of ejaculate. It scared me, but as the increasingly pleasurable sensations took control, I forgot why I was afraid. When it was over, we gently floated back down to the bed and I passed out. When I next opened my eyes, Sebastian was in the room. I covered my groin and said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Cassandra got up from the bed and kissed Sebastian. I was confused. He's not ready yet, is he? Sebastian asked. Ready for what? I wanted to know. Sebastian sat on the bed and put his hand on my leg. Incredibly, my boner was still going strong, throbbing even. You're going to go on an incredible journey tonight, he said. You will see things as they really are, my friend. You will behold a new world. In the meantime, why don't you and Cassandra make the beast with 2 backs again? Call my name when you're ready. Ready for what? I asked again as he departed. ready to change," he said as the door closed. Even though I was frightened, Cassandra expertly aroused me yet again, and we had more sex. We floated, making the beast. But as each new height of ecstasy came, I lost more of myself, until I forgot who I was and what I was doing there. Later, I felt restless, and when Cassandra left the room for a moment, I decided to explore. The LSD was making me anxious, and I had to move. I wandered until I came to a narrow staircase leading up. At the top was a door, and I opened it. Inside, I saw a couple of people lying on mattresses. I stepped closer, alarmed that they weren't moving. Then I noticed a head, a fuzzy black hair, and looked closer. It was Bill. My memory, and why I had come here to begin with, returned in a rush. I rolled him over. He seemed completely limp, but warm and still alive. I looked into his eyes and gasped. Bill's eyes were completely white. His pupils were gone. I cradled him in my arms, horrified. "Bill, can you hear me, man? What happened?" Bill's mouth bubbled as he tried to speak. "Beast," he mumbled. With two backs, I went into the light. "Leave him alone." Cassandra's voice came from behind. "He's resting." What happened to me, my head, but his eyes? I stammered. "This is my fault in love. His eyes are fine. That's just a hallucination. You're tripping, remember? When I released Bill, he flopped back onto the mattress like a dead fish. Cassandra's voice was like bitter honey. Let's go back to the room now. You're naked, you know." I looked down at my body. Python penis stood out like an elephant's trunk. The acid was causing some wild visual distortions. Weasel screamed from somewhere in the house. "Let's say the Kayan. I love you. It's Wheeze," I shouted. "Oh no," one bird say. "I gotta help him." I dashed from the room before Cassandra could react. I ran down endless corridors, looking indoors. The psychedelic experience was making me lose perspective. I caught bits and pieces of weird scenes as I moved from room to room. People looked up from what they were doing and smiled, but the smiles were evil. In one room, a naked young couple seemed to be smeared in blood. In another, I saw demons dancing to the music of the Grateful Dead. A woman appeared in the hall in front of me, the top of her head removed. She absently twirled strands of her brain around her finger and giggled. "I'm tripping. None of this is real." My mind reasoned. Cassandra was right. I was seeing things as they really were, and it wasn't what I'd expected. Things weren't beautiful at all. They were grotesque. The smiles of the people I interrupted were full of sharp teeth. They looked at me with carnivorous bloodlust. Weasel screamed again, and I ran in the direction of the sound. The hallway became distorted. It seemed to stretch to infinity, and my legs felt as if they were underwater. Somewhere behind, I heard people coming after me. I stumbled down a flight of stairs and burst into a room I hadn't seen before. Sebastian was there, standing over Weasel. He looked up, surprised. He had an eyedropper in his hand. "What are you doing?" I shouted. Weasel screamed again, blinking and clawing at his face. He put the white mist in my eyes. He sobbed. "My God, I'm starting to fade." Cassandra and several others crowded into the room. They stood and stared at me, and I was suddenly aware of my nakedness and something else. I felt less disoriented. The acid was wearing off. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted. Sebastian raised a hand. "It's quite all right. You see, I've produced an absolutely pure, liquid form of the mist. Its effects are best experienced when applied directly to the cornea." "But he doesn't want that," I shouted. "Look at him." Weasel rolled on the floor. Sebastian shrugged. "Any second now, he'll become one with the great white light. The beast with two backs has taken him there. Ride the beast, see the light." While I watched, Weasel began to levitate off the floor. He rose to a height of 2 feet and hovered there, floating on nothing. "Jesus Christ," I muttered. "Who are you people?" Sebastian smiled. "We're travelers, my friend. You're a traveler too. The light is our guide through the darkness. The beast with two backs is our beast of burden." I backed away, but Cassandra and her flock moved between me and the door. "The light loves you," Sebastian said. "It loves us all." Weasel floated in the air, his head back, and his not quite shoulder-length hair hanging down. I waved my hand above and below him. Nothing. Weasel rolled his head and looked at me. The light, he said. The great white light. It's here. I have to go now, Jake. Say goodbye to everybody for me, okay? He opened his eyes and smiled at me, and I shuddered and shrank back. His eyes were all white, just like Bill's, completely devoid of pupil, iris, and cornea. He's seeing God. Sebastian whispered, ride the beast, see the light. Kinda nice how that works, isn't it? I wanted to run. I wanted to jump out the window and take off down the street and get as far away from this place as possible. Sebastian put a soft hand on my shoulder and peered into my face. You want me to explain it all to you? I looked at the window. It was a huge curved glass monstrosity, looking out onto a yard on the side of the house. I was surprised to see that it was daytime already. How long I had been tripping. Sun sparkled through the glass. Just a few feet away, Filbert Street teemed, wild and free. I calculated how many steps it would take me to get close enough to dive out through the glass. It seemed a mile away. Sebastian noticed me looking at the window and said, don't even think about it, friend. The glass is thick and the fall is steep. You'd never make it. Tell me how this is happening. I asked. The great white light is God, Sebastian said. Who would have thought that God would be attainable through advanced chemistry? You see, the light itself is intelligent. It talks to me. It tells me what to do. I discovered it about a year ago, experimenting with different forms of LSD. I'm a chemist by profession, a pioneer in my field, actually. I read about Leary and Albert's work and decided to run my own set of tests. I realized that additional mind-altering properties could be caused by a quirk in the formula, so I tinkered with it. It's really quite simple, just your basic C20H25N30 with a twist. Cassandra and her friends drew closer and I tensed. I was crashing from the acid and my face was sore. But the sun was up now. A new day had begun, and I was coming down. Sebastian smiled and showed rows of tiny, pearl-white teeth. He continued talking, calmly and persuasively. Souls pass in and out of the light all the time. People are born, people die. But occasionally, the light wants to see a new soul, one that's not scheduled to pass. 1. I found that the eyedropper dash application method of my new liquid form of the mist, coupled with a chemical the brain secretes during sex, brings a person face to face with the light without having to go through the long spiritual journey. Sex triggers it, you see, and the acid accelerates the process. With just one exposure, the light shows itself to whomever I choose. I tried to swallow, but my mouth was as dry as ashes. Greg Kine. What do you want with me and Wheeze? Sebastian chuckled. I should think that's obvious. Once the acid gets into your bloodstream, it knows everything about you. You ride the beast with 2 backs, then you're part of it. The light has already chosen you. What makes their eyes turn white? That's the first of a series of unusual side effects. There are others that come as the process continues. I can only describe it as a metamorphosis. I was suddenly angry. That's not right, man. Weasel never tripped before. You blew his mind. Why don't you drop it in your own eyes? Sebastian laughed. I've done it hundreds of times. Hell, I perfected it. The light itself guided me, had me make further modifications of the formula. It was working through me to perfect itself, to find a way to tap directly into the ocean of human souls. I have gone far, far beyond this larval stage. I watched Weasel hover in space, his body convulsed in little spasms, like a sleeping dog. I'm still tripping, I thought. None of this is real. You have sex with somebody who already has the light in them, Sebastian continued, and you change. You walk again on the earthly plane, but you're not the same as before. Those who are absorbed by the light go on to a higher plane. Cassandra touched my hand and I jumped. It's a great honor, she said. Looks like your friend is merging nicely, Sebastian said. He gently placed his hand upon Weasel's chest and slowly guided him to the ground. He's already there. Is that what happened to Fuzzy Bill? Bill went fast. The light really wanted him. You see, some of us possess souls that just seem to yearn for realization. Bill was like that, a very evolved human being. It was his destiny. The rest of us have looked into the light and returned. Bill's metamorphosis will be complete soon. He'll be back to carry out the wishes of the light, to bring in more souls. Like me and Wheeze, I said. Yes, like you and Wheeze. Cassandra held my hand tightly. Think about it, Jake. It's the light of God. Most people only see it when they die. After you emerge, what happens to you? I asked, trying to postpone the inevitable now, trying to keep them talking. When the explanations ended, I had a pretty good idea that it was my turn to see the light. We change, Sebastian said softly. You look the same to me. I replied, look again. I gazed around the room. Remember what I said before about seeing things the way they really are? Sandas's voice was soothing. I will love you. Use your other eyes, Jake. Use the eyes of your soul. I squinted, watching her face. It began to ripple. The muscles flexed and thickened. I gasped and tried to pull away. Her face was melting. I looked around in a panic. All their faces were melting. I found myself standing in the middle of a circle of faceless people. They had no eyes, nose, or mouth, just a smooth, unbroken plane of skin stretched over their expressionless skulls, all except Sebastian. He held up the eyedropper and said, now it's your turn. Join us and never suffer the harsh pain of reality again. But I like reality, I shouted, my head suddenly clear. They encircled me. I tried to fight them off, but it was no use. They held me down, and their fingers forced my eyes open, while Sebastian reloaded the eyedropper with the mist. He stepped up and held it over my left eye. Ride the beast, see the light, and know God. I couldn't blink, so I was forced to watch as the clear fluid fell in a perfect droplet directly onto my pupil. I screamed. I pushed a palm against my watering eye and felt a strange numbness wash over me. Incredible visions exploded from my left eye, followed by an intense white light. Then, the face of God revealed itself to me, but it was not God at all. It was the devil. I could feel the evil emanating from it, reaching out for me. Panic and adrenaline exploded in my body, and I somehow managed to jerk free from their grasp. I dived for the window. The glass was as thick as Sebastian had said, and the fall was just as bad, but I was determined to survive. My naked body crashed through the barrier like a steel arrow. Miraculously, I landed in a roll and tumbled into some shrubbery, which broke my fall. In a heartbeat, I was on my feet again, naked and bleeding. I could feel the morning sun on my face, and its golden rays gave me hope. My left eye pulsed and squirmed in its socket. I was half blind and tripping, but somehow my fear overcame these handicaps. Above me, Sebastian shouted, "You won't get far, Pilgrim. They're already on their way, and the light is already in you." His voice faded as I sprinted across the yard. I saw two of the faceless creatures coming around the side of the house. They looked unnatural and hideous in the light of day. I made a mad dash for the fence, and the two moved to cut me off. I zigzagged like a halfback and accelerated past their outstretched arms. 2 steps later, I was at the fence. It stood before me, the 12-foot-high redwood barrier to freedom. Without thinking, I vaulted it. The street was bright and open. People who were strolling in the fresh morning air looked up to see a naked man running. I rocketed between them and vanished around the corner, leaving a trail of blood droplets. The creatures kept coming. Someone in my therapy group heard that they'd hooked up with a guy named Charlie in the desert near LA, a place called the Span Ranch. And later, when the cops came for Charlie, Sebastian and Cassandra slipped away again. What happened to them is anybody's guess. I'm sure they're out there somewhere, pulling souls. The glass eye took some getting used to, but now I can manipulate it pretty well. For a while in the 70s, I wore an eye patch, like the Hathaway shirt man, but I grew out of it. Women dug it, but the Jake the Pirate jokes were getting on my nerves. Poor Weasel has been vegged out these past 30 years, but I still drop by now and then to see him. I gaze into his blank, lifeless eyes and remember Cassandra. My own therapy is ongoing, and I manage to live a reasonable life. The flashbacks have almost gone away completely, but sometimes at night, when I close my eye, I can still see it, the great white light, and I find myself floating.